Hey everybody, I have something really encouraging for those of you that are hoping for the end of the persecutions that you're going through, for those of you that are hoping for the escape. But let's just recap really quick for those that are not familiar. We know the Bible was in its complete form and published by 350 CE, and the fulfillment of Daniel 12:11 occurred about 300 years later in 685. And the following year, the celestial configuration described in Revelation 12 occurred, which, according to the text, was the sign before the 1260 days. And a 1260-year period started at that same time when the Dome of the Rock was set up on the Jewish Temple Mount, and it ended in 1945 when the Nazis were overthrown. So that's one period of 1260 days in the wilderness that's described in Revelation 12, days also being years, it says in other scriptures. And then we had the fulfillment of Daniel 9:25 starting 3 years later in 1948 and culminating in 1961 and 2009. So again, Daniel 9 is not about Jesus. That's a misconception. We've talked about that before. Daniel 9:24 was partially about Jesus, but not Daniel 9:25 through 27. So you can watch my video called the 70th Week Doctrine. Is it flawed? For more information about that. But Obama was called the Messiah by many. That's why Daniel uses that word. Daniel speaks in code. But it says this person called Messiah will make a covenant with many that will be confirmed for 7 years. And we know Obama won the Peace Prize in 2009 for confirming the worldwide UN treaty. And his confirmation of that covenant will continue until the end of his presidency 7 years later in 2016. And then next we had the fulfillment of Daniel 12:11 and Daniel 12:12 in the year 2012. And again, for details on all of this, you can watch the videos linked below called Daniel 9 fulfilled in 2009 and Daniel 12 fulfilled in 2012. It's explained in more detail. But also in 2012, we had this celestial configuration occur again, the one that occurred back here. The one that's described in Revelation 12, and that won't occur for another 500 years. It does not occur in 2017. I've addressed that. I talk about that in the video. I think it's called Virgo's Crown of 12,000 Stars, and I also explain the Revelation 12 sign in the video. Revelation 12 sign occurred in 2012. It's also linked below. So that sign does not occur in 2017. It occurred in 2012. It doesn't occur for another 500 years. So everything you're looking at right here are actual fulfillments of biblical scripture that occurred after the Bible was already published. So these are facts right here. And now what we're going to do is look at the implications of these facts. It says Daniel 12:12. Daniel 12:12 says a period of 1335 days will occur in conjunction with the 1290 days. And the text tells us days can also be years. And there's a period of 1335 years starting on the 1290th year in 685, right here. And that ends in the year 2020. And it says, blessed are those who come to the 1335th day. So that's a possibility in 2020. Also, we're told in Daniel 9:24 that the prophecy will be sealed or completed after 70 Shabuah. And Shabuah can mean 70 Shavuots, which would end in 2017, or 70 plus 7, which would end in 2024. So those are the possible end points. It doesn't go past 2024 for this particular restoration of Israel, quote unquote. So that's our ultimate end point. But it also gives us another 7-year period between 2017 and 2024 that may also be the fulfillment of a fulfillment of Daniel 9:26 and 27, because it says after the 62 Shavuots, he will either cut a covenant or be cut off right here, because this word means both things. Well, the first part of this already occurred, as we already discussed, in 2009 with the confirmation of the UN treaty right here in the year of the 62nd Shavuot. But the word Shabuah right here also means plus 7. So it can also say after 62 plus 7, he will be cut off. And we already know that's occurring as well, because 62 plus 7 is the year 2016, which is the last year of Obama's presidency. So we already have two separate fulfillments of the first phrase in Daniel 9:25 right here. He confirmed or cut the covenant after 62 Shavuots, and he will be cut off or no longer president after 62 plus 7. So next, when it says the people of the prince that shall come will cause the desolation during the 7 years in both Daniel 9:26 and 27, it can refer to the 7 years between 2009 and 2016, or the 7 years from 2017 to 2024. So we might want to start paying attention to who is running for the presidency in 2016, because that may be the prince that shall come. But there are multiple reasons the 7-year period that we're in now may be it, because first of all, this sign of Revelation of 12 occurred within the 7 period we're in now. And again, it does not occur in 2017. I've proved that. So that sign in Revelation 12 that doesn't occur again for another 500 years, that's one reason that we are in the 7-year period right now that Daniel talked about. And the other reason is there are several 70-year periods that are ending during this time period. This one here that started in 1945 will end in 2015. And there's also a 1260-year period of tribulation ending sometime between 2014 and 2016, according to other scholars right here, Adam Clark in 1825 and others in the 19th century. So that's another reason the 7-year period we're in right now is, at least at this point, on higher alert than this period right here. And also we know the final phase of the beast is the UN, and the UN is in their 8th king. That's the clue given to us in Revelation. And the Vatican just voted in their 8th king in 2013. And we know they were the harlot riding the beast during the former phase of the beast right here. This is another chart. So again, we have two 8th kings ruling right now, the false prophet and the 8th king of the beast. So that's significant. And then here's the new part that I wanted to share with you guys. The other reason that I think we're in the 7 years right now. We know the Dumbarton Oaks Conference established the final phase of the beast. The 70th anniversary of that just started on August 21st. And as we talked about before, the end of World War I occurred in 1945 when the Nazis were overthrown. But that was the official first year of the final phase of the beast. That was the official first year of the UN. And 70 years from that is the year 2015. And the country of Israel, or the quote-unquote restoration of Israel, which was ordained by the beast in the fall of 1947, took effect in May of 1948. And 70 years after that lands in May of 2008. So Gabriel told Daniel the prophecy would be complete 70 Shabuah after Jerusalem is quote-unquote restored. And Jesus also said something that seemed to confirm that when he said 1 generation will not pass once the fig tree, which we know is Israel, buds. Okay, and then here's the other thing. Revelation 12 indicates the final 3.5 years will occur after a period of 1260 years. We know the woman represents the 12 tribes of Israel right here in verse 6. So some of those fled into the wilderness at the start of the 1260 year period. The text tells us each day is a year. So this where it says the woman fled into the wilderness for 1260 days, that can also be 1260 years. And again, it occurred right after the sign that's described in Revelation 12, just like it says. That's exactly what happened. You know, they escaped into the wilderness for 1260 years. Right after that sign occurred in 686. So right here, that's exactly what is described in the first part of Revelation 12. So that seems to have been a fulfillment of that. Right here, it was a 1260 year period. But then notice it seems to repeat the same thing in Revelation 12, verse 14. It says the woman escapes after the dragon persecutes them, only this time it's not referred to as 1260 days. It's referred to as a time times and half a time. And we know a time times and half a time is 3.5 years, because obviously that verse matches the other verse it matches verse 6, which says 1260 days, and 1260 days is literally equivalent to 3.5 years. So we know that a time times and half a time is 3.5 years. But the first fulfillment was a 1260 year period, and the second fulfillment is a 3.5 year period. But there's a reason why it doesn't say 1260 days. There's a reason it says time times and half a time. So the next fulfillment that we're looking for is a 3.5 year period, but it doesn't have to be exactly 1260 days. You see what I'm saying? That's why it is not called a 1260 day period the second time. It's called a time times and half time. So a time for 1 year times 2 years, and half would be half a year. So for a total of 3.5 years. So that may actually be the reason there are two different phrases used in Revelation 12 to describe that time period, because there are more than one of those time periods. There was the one right here, starting right at the sign in 686, or right before that in 685. So there was a 1260 year period that started there, and there will be another at the end. But again, at the end, right here in verse 14, it's not exactly 1260 days. It says right here, it's a time times and half a time, so it's less exact. It's about 3.5 years. Not exactly 1260 days, but about 3.5 years. Okay, so look at this. There are about 3.5 years between the establishment of the final phase of the beast in the fall of 1944 and the establishment of the Little Horn of Israel in May 1948. So there were almost 3 years from the establishment of the UN from August to October in 1944 until the UN vote to restore Israel in 1947. That was a 3-year period, almost exactly 3 years. And then there was half a year from November 1947, the UN decree, until May of 1948, when the British contract supposedly ended, making Israel into an officially recognized nation by the UN. So that gives us about 3.5 years from October, November 2014 until May of 2018, which is 70 years from the quote-unquote restoration that Gabriel mentioned. So the next escape that we're looking for, the escape from the serpent mentioned in Revelation 12, it's not an exact 1260 days. It's a time times and half a time, about 3.5 years. So that escape might really happen sometime this fall. I mean, anytime starting now through December, there is an exact 1260 day period from December 1st, 2014 until May 14th, 2018, which May 14th was the exact day that Israel was made into a nation. So exactly the exact 70th anniversary from that would be May 14th, 2018. But like I said, that 1260 days, it does not say that the second escape is exactly 1260 days. So the escape could potentially happen at any time right now. It lasts for about 3.5 years. So although there's the possibility of another 7-year fulfillment coming up from 2017 to 2024, those are basically the reasons that I think the 7 period we're in now is more significant than that. Also, 2014 is specifically 144 years from 1870, when the Pope was taken prisoner at the wound of one of the heads of the beast. That's also described in the book of Revelation. And we know 144 is another code number in reference to the escape. So I just think that's interesting too, right there, that one specifically highlights the year 2014. So anyway, that's pretty much it. I'm out of time. There are tons of links below this video in the description box. If you want more information, just click on Show More to find the other videos on this subject. I also have an ebook format of some of this material on my website and also on Amazon. So I just want to say thanks so much to everybody who is supporting this work. I hope this was encouraging for you, and I will talk to you again next week. Okay, bye-bye.